Hello and welcome to another episode of the MoxStars podcast. This is another edition of our set review for Phyrexia, All Will Be One.
Nailed it.
Today we're talking about green. And if you don't know, you can find us in the description at our link tree. Follow us on Instagram, all the little links there that are included. Subscribe, like us on YouTube, and stay tuned for more. This set review is going to be a total of 6 installations. So far, this is a numero dos. So let's get right into it. We're talking about green. Each of us chose 2 mythics or rares, and then we also chose 2 uncommons or commons. And so we're just going to divulge on those. We don't need to talk about every card. So let's fucking do it.
Quick, concise, talking about some sick cards. Getting the heck out of here. Not doing 3 hours on a set.
All right, who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Why not? Green, rare, Conduit of Worlds. 2 colorless, green. You may play land cards from your graveyard. Tap it. Choose target non-land permanent card in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast this card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Seems good. It does 2 relevant things that are relevant to things you're already doing with the green mana. There is Crucible of Worlds, which is an artifact, but then there's also the Snake Shaman guy.
Shit.
Ramen Excavator.
Nice.
Boom.
Says the green player.
Boom. There's interactions with lands hitting graveyards in green. If you're in Gitrog Monster, this seems relevant. If you're really doing anything in green and you have a slot in your 99, this card seems relevant.
And then you can just tap it to cast a spell from your graveyard?
Straight up. Yep.
Shit.
Anything.
I mean, that's like, that alone is great, right? Like,
Oh, it's a non-land permanent.
Non-land permanent. Yeah.
well, yeah, because you get to play the lands, right?
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah,
sense.
But, I mean, it's just pure value.
Yeah. That
Like
is
the-
actually insane.
This card is just pure upside, right?
You're just going to be playing under your graveyard forever. It is the perfect counter to mill, which is also in this set.
Yeah, right. I talked about it so heavily in blue, but this is just like that, the antithesis of that whole strategy. This card, I think, is incredible mid-game fodder for, like, Commander. I think
I definitely see this being a staple, popping up a lot in the future.
Yes, it's just so generically good that anything you lose, I think the one thing you can say about cards and value in Commander is if you have the ability to play them more than once or to double in effect, it's incredible. And so this gives you that option to
1v1 too. Also,
Yeah.
If you can start recurring shit, like that is usually when games end.
consistency is the key to power and the key to victory. So Conduit of Worlds really says, you are going to have a very consistent deck if whatever permanent you lost last turn can continue to come back. This also notably can recur your Dominus if it somehow dies.
And a lot of times when you recur something from your graveyard, there's an exile clause staple to it.
That's a good
which
point.
is not on this one.
Shit.
So, you can just replay that thing again and again and again until they run out of interaction at the table.
Did you guys know there's tons of ways to untap permanents?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this you can't cast additional spells this turn.
Oh, you can't. That was they
Yeah.
got around it. They
Yep.
got around it.
And you can only activate it as a sorcery, which is sort of limiting, but it doesn't like necessarily.
It's still good.
Yeah, it doesn't like break the
They
timing.
realized that they were going to break it if they didn't say that.
If they allowed you to break timing conditions for like casting non-creature spells, or non-land permanents, that would be insane.
All right, fair enough. Love that card. Moving on. It happened. We have to talk about it. It happened. We have a Phyrexian dinosaur.
Ayo.
Woo! I love this card.
Tyrannax Rex. It almost sounds like a real dinosaur.
Yeah, that shit's just sick.
It's
right?
just a sick ass dinosaur, bro.
Yeah.
It is 4 green for a sick ass dinosaur, actual creature type. It is an 8/8 with this spell can't be countered, trample, toxic 4, ward 4, and of course, haste.
Yeah, I mean, Wizards has a tradition of printing just good ass, can't be countered, big chunky dinosaur bodies.
I'm used to seeing
green.
Yeah, I'm used to seeing in draft that the power is lower than the mana cost when there's a ton of words on the fucking thing. They said nah.
Nah, it's so pushed.
They said nah to that.
Well, we've seen like Elder Gargaroth, which is one of the most pushed green cards of all time, and this looks at Elder Gargaroth and laughs in its face. Like, for 7 mana, yes, it's a steep climb to get there. You're going to get there, likely in limited or draft. the fact that they gave it haste is just crazy to me.
Yeah, it's just
Like,
a goofy good card.
It's a new
Yeah.
standard legal Carnage Tyrant, which
Yes.
was, I think, pretty good back in the day. It is slightly downgraded because it is Ward 4, not hexproof. But
yeah, Ward 4
the
is
amount of
effectively
yeah,
pretty close.
it's also absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But the amount of upside on top of it is also worth that little discrepancy, I think. I think it's a sick-ass dinosaur, dude.
Yeah, if
Actual creature typing.
If Carnage Tyrant can bounce anywhere between $35 and $50 for non-foil printing in standard, this has the potential for that.
Oh, yeah, this big boy's going to be up there.
Yeah. It's going to be a good card, and you're going to see a lot. You're going to see it played a lot. There's just a lot of recursion happening right now where, like, what we see in white all the time with Invoke Justice. You don't have to necessarily cast this card for its full cost.
I think that kind of strategy is happening more and more lately.
Yeah. It's
Faithful
very
Mending has
popular.
been huge in the white-blue, like, filtering.
Behold the Multiverse. Like,
Yeah, and red, too, getting tons. Bitter Reunion out of Brothers War, tons of stuff like that. So, yeah, reanimation definitely viable.
yeah, for this guy, just I mean, the fact that, like I said, haste I think is the biggest factor here. It's like with reanimation strategies, you can bring something out and then it doesn't have the ability to swing, most likely. But this does. It just like can come out, deal 8 damage to your face, and give you 4 poison counters.
I also want to say, if we do see that the whole corrupted mechanic ends up having some decent payoffs that we like, this one hit with this makes somebody corrupted.
Yeah, so the trample is just you can't put enough in front of this. If it touches you with 1 damage, you get 4 poison counters.
I think
Yeah,
it's a
right?
good card.
I think it's a good card.
It might be a good card.
Someone called this sick-ass dinosaur, and I'm inclined to agree.
Yes. That's all you really have to say. It's a great card. My mythic for this set, I'm choosing Zopendrel, Hunger Dominus. Like we had said, the Dominus cycle is just very, very powerful. Almost seems pushed. We're going to see how much these like push the limits, but it's 7 mana, 5 and 2 green, legendary creature, Phyrexian Horror, a 4/6 with reach. At the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. You may pay 2 Phyrexian green, sacrifice 2 other creatures, put an indestructible counter on Zopendrel, Hunger Dominus. Wow.
Such a low cost for that activated ability.
Yeah, like
Ridiculous.
I'm paying 4 life all day. Like if I can just continue a string of spells or like continue developing my board state, I'm paying that 4 life because at this point it doesn't really matter if I can give it an indestructible counter because you double the power and toughness of each creature you control at the beginning of each combat. Everybody's turn. So I think it's going to be a great commander card because you get that trigger 4 times at each go-around, but then it's also a 4/6 with reach. So technically an 8/12 with reach at the beginning of combat.
Yeah, this with Vigilance is like any creatures you have with Vigilance just become goated. They like, I'm swinging and you're not swinging at me.
Yeah, I'm really targeting this in like for let's say the Christmas Land like deck for me in Sealed is probably green-white. Because the white being able to give things vigilance in this set is just almost seems like it's much stronger than in other draft formats. So I really like this card. I don't know if I'll end up playing it for myself in Commander. I don't know if it's my style technically, but in Standard, I think this is amazing because we just talked about all those reanimation abilities. Imagine just reanimating this and just bringing out this big baddie who's just going to end the game.
For sure. I don't have anything to add. Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Good card is good.
Yeah,
Good card is good.
If you're gonna do Timmy stuff, do
It's
Timmy
Timmy
stuff
as
with
fuck
this.
for sure, yeah.
Yeah, Zopen Timmy is his name. All right, Jordan, what's your next one, dude?
Nissa. We're talking about all these planeswalkers. This one's pretty okay. Nissa Ascended Animist, 3 green, Phyrexian green. So if you paid it all out, it would be 7. If you pay the 4 life for 2 Phyrexian mana, it would be 5. She either comes in as 7 or 5 loyalty, respectively. So, it's pretty par for the course mana-wise. Actually, pretty hot. I like to see that.
Yeah, it would come in with 3 if you paid the 4 life.
Oh, shit, you're right. That's how completed works.
Yeah, it's wild that way.
5 mana, 3 loyalty? I don't know. We'll see.
Sorry, I didn't mean to pull the.
No, I mean, I might have been gassing up too much. All right, let's go through the abilities and see if it's worth that. +1, create an XX green Phyrexian horror creature token, where X is her loyalty. So, you're going to
Not good at either.
Yeah, you make a 4/4 if you pay the 4 life.
4/4 or an 8/8 with no evasive ability or additional text.
Yeah, that hurts. That hurts. Neg 1 is destroy target artifact or enchantment. I think that's going to be great in limited, especially just because, obviously a legendary planeswalker is going to be insane in limited, but there's so many artifacts all over the place.
It's nice to have the option in Commander as well.
Exactly. True. Where green has this great destroy artifact or enchantment vibe stapled everywhere, and it's very highly valuable.
Yeah, Vivian Reed, when it was first printed in Core 19, actually saw a lot of play just for that one ability.
Yeah.
It's the same mana cost, or it was for 5, and it had a -2 or whatever for destroy target artifact or enchantment. It was great.
So I will say I'm not completely sold on it so far on this card. The ultimate is a neg 7 ability. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 for each forest you control and gain trample.
If you're paying the full cost and you're doing it the turn you cast her for a really chunky overrun effect, that might be good. It's good in some format.
It makes the creatures that it can then buff later. It is good in some format. Mono green is a deck in every format. Yeah, it's just some Timmy bullshit. It's not really my kind of cup of tea, but I can definitely see some mono green devotion players getting down to it.
Yeah, my eyes get really wide when I read that last ability, and I just have this shit-eating grin on my face because, if I'm casting it for its full thing, or again to beat the dead horse, you happen to reanimate it with a repair and recharge or something like that until end of turn, because it'll come in with 7.
You do get to all immediately, which is great. I will say that is a huge upside.
And there aren't many the potential for the +1/+1 for each forest you control and gain trample. It's just if you're playing the card honestly.
But how much is that dominance you were just talking about that doubles power at every combat? I would rather have that.
Right.
I just think that's better. I know you get
it might go in Elf Ball or something.
For sure.
You know?
Totally could. I think that it maybe doesn't see play in multiple formats, but we'll see what kind of life it has.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Ritter, what's your next rare?
Bloated Contaminator?
I love it.
There we go. 2 colors, 1 green, 4/4 trample, toxic 1. Whenever Bloated Contaminator deals common damage to a player, proliferate. Well, 3 relevant lines of text, good cost. 3 CMC for 4 power and toughness is not a great rate at the pushed level of creatures, green creatures especially, but it's still pretty good. More power and toughness than its CMC. Trample, toxic, trample getting that toxic through.
I didn't even think about it until you said that earlier, is the 1 point of damage has to go through on the trample, and then however many toxic they have stacks on top of it. So yeah, you really just have to get the 1 point through. Yeah, I think that's going to be really good.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to the blue episode, I said it earlier, but every instance of toxic is going to stack. If you have a spell that gives a creature toxic 1, toxic 2, or whatever, if it already has toxic, it adds it on top of that. It counts the collective toxicity. So, if you're able to stack those in some way, it just gets crazy. Just the 1 point of damage.
Trample plus toxic. I like that.
It's really good.
Yeah, and this scary little crab snake demon Phyrexia thing also proliferates that poison counter once it gets through.
Yeah, that's hot.
A pseudo toxic 2 in innate. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's built in. Yeah. If if it's getting the first poison counter, it's definitely getting the second one.
Yeah, and green notably also has a lot of oil counters.
Yep. And +1/+1 counters and other types of counters.
Yeah.
It's green. It's what green does.
Yeah.
It's what green do.
Yeah, we've been talking about green as at least Jordan and I have at work, just about how green doesn't seem that strong. But then you sit back and you talk about it like you do here, and you're like, no, it's still pretty strong.
Green does everything.
Green does everything.
Yep. My final rare, I have it here. It is Venerated Rot Priest. It is going for a $12 pre-order, which...
As it should. It's going to go up in value, I feel like, from there.
Ooh, I don't even know what this one is. Tell me.
It really piqued my interest. It's a 1 green mana Phyrexian Druid with Toxic 1. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. So whenever a creature you control becomes a target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. I just had to read that again because
it's damn good.
Yep.
Yeah, targeting it with your own spells basically just does the job.
This is the deck I was telling you I saw people starting to build already with that blue spell that has corrupted and then draw 2 cards. It's with the Ivy, Gleeful Spell Thief.
Yes, and it gives it flying. That's crazy because it just adds on the instance of toxic. It gives it another toxic.
Yeah, so I think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff around this, and some very good build arounds that are not really going to be hard at all.
Right. Yeah.
I think there's some very viable strategies out of this. It's a 1-drop.
Yeah, it's a 1-drop.
Love to see it.
They had to create the green 1-drop that's just going to like warp a format.
I'm curious in limited, like drafting this set, how many spells are you going to be able to get that can target your creatures? Like, sure, there'll be some buff effects and everything, some auras.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at all 5 colors, a little preview of the full set. Not a lot of spells that do that.
Right. It doesn't seem. I think this is going to have
It's not
bigger,
for limited.
Yeah, it's going to have bigger impact outside of it for sure.
There is particularly one card in this like draft format that does target your creature and is the best version of this effect ever printed, and that's Tyvar's Stand.
Yo, we were talking about this. Yeah,
Yep.
That's actually crazy.
Which would be crazy. So +X gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn for X and a green. Just crazy.
Yeah, we've been
Instant
seeing
speed.
a lot of these green combat tricks lately, and I think this Tyvar Stand is probably the best one we've seen yet.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
All right. I'll start us off in the commons and uncommons. Now, I have been over the moon with this fact that you can add like instances of toxic to creatures, and I learned it from this card. It's a common from this set. It's called Plague Nurse. 3 and a green creature, Phyrexian cleric with toxic 2, and then it has pay 2 and a green. Each other creature you control with toxic gains toxic 1 until end of turn. Activate only once each turn. It is also a 3/4 as its base stats. So still a chunky butt here. And then in the reminder text, it says a player dealt combat damage by a creature with toxic also gets poison counters equal to that creature's total toxic value.
Mm-hmm.
So when
the toxic value is
toxic value,
I
yes,
see that.
Yeah,
I like that. Okay.
That was what opened my eyes to the whole thing, and that's why I felt it was necessary to bring this card up, because I think in draft, in limited, this thing is sort of similar to like the Celebrity Fencer from New Capenna, the 4-drop that no one really pays mind to until it wins a few games, and then they realize they just have to kill it every time because it's just going to end the game that much quicker. So I really love this card. Looking forward to drafting it, looking forward to targeting it in drafts and playing it to an annoying level.
I got this sick little comment I want to talk about. It's Thirsting Roots. It's not flashy, it's not crazy. But what I'm seeing is in the common section, we're starting to see this creep where they're playing around with modality. They're playing around with getting a little more value, a little more juice worth the squeeze. You know what I'm saying?
It does 2 relevant things.
Exactly. So we just saw this in Bushwhack, where you get the tutor for basic land, put it in your hand, blah, blah, blah. But then you have the alternative, which, it really goes a long way. Bushwhack lets you a creature fight another creature. This instance is replace that with Proliferate, where it's pretty simple, very straightforward card, but these cards are inherently pushed. There are 2 mechanics. Like, it is a card that exists plus 1 other ability. You just get to choose which one you want.
I just can't even tell if this is better than Bushwhack. Bushwhack is like one of the best fight spells ever printed.
Bushwhack is sick.
Yes.
But I mean, if you're playing the corrupted deck, if you're doing, in draft, this is going to be amazing. I definitely think the toxic plus trample synergy is not nothing. I think it's going to be really good, and this goes right in the deck.
Yeah, I think a lot of these commons end up having more late game effects than most commons in previous sets have had. Like I'd say, like
Proliferate always going to be good.
Yes, always good. You pick this up in turn 8 or whatever, and you're like, oh, they've got 8 poison counters. I'm going to put them that much closer to death.
Yeah, like one thing that like either lets you get a land in the early game, make sure you curve out right, or Proliferate the last counter you need to ult a Planeswalker out of nowhere. Like that's
crazy.
That's pretty good.
I really see Proliferate just kind of going off the charts.
I'll run 4 of these, Proliferate somebody until they die with poison counters.
There
poison
you go.
counters are in the set. Like this is just going to be a great card.
Yeah, for 1 mana to just exchange it for a land too, color figure
Right.
yourself.
And I think it's the stuff like this that's going to give like viability to the corrupted decks, to the poison counter decks, the toxic decks. I think you got to have the small stuff like this that really helps the engine turn. And I think this is going to be a really good one for that.
Sick. Guys, check out this transition.
Hit me.
Unnatural Restoration, Regrowth plus Proliferate.
Wow. Modality.
Where is
Modality.
Check out our episode on modality
I'll put it in the description below.
in the description below.
Yeah. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Proliferate.
What's the casting cost?
Green and a colorless.
Wow. So they're just like, have
Yep.
your cake and eat it too again.
Yup.
Yeah.
There you go. Pure value.
Do you hate regrowth? Well, then regrowth plus proliferating. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're already running this effect and you would get incidental value out of Proliferate, there you go. Strict upgrade.
Yeah, we saw, that was what I ended up like combining with the Leyline of Anticipation was Regrowth to like get something back to hand.
Pact of Negation casted like 12 times.
Someone's not salty at all about it. It was great.
It was super fun.
Yeah, Regrowth, such a relevant ability all the time. It's why I thought Balaged Recovery was going to be like one of those almost greatest of all time cards, like almost an auto include into decks. Now, if you're for whatever reason able to capitalize off of Proliferate, like you said, this is just an auto include. Now that you have this option,
Or you one up me, so let me one up you. We're talking modality. Canker Bloom.
Ooh.
1 and a green for
Great card.
Great card. 1 and a green for a 3/2 creature, a Phyrexian fungus. Let's fucking go.
You know what? This card looks like a version of a card you love to play with more upside. Cathar Commando.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it says 1, sacrifice it, choose 1. Destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or, believe it or not, proliferate. It's pretty freaking sick. It is a 3/2, which, holy God.
wow.
Yup.
I just played a ton of Brothers War, and Rock Hunter, which is a 1 and a red, a 2 mana 3/1, did some work. I can only imagine a 3/2 with actual huge activated ability upside. Beware, this card is going to be very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, block sack to like pop something and then negate the damage you would
Also,
have
if
taken
you
from
just don't get a
toxic.
creature out turn 2, like you're just going to bully them until they get something out, in which case you're going to destroy it, in which case they don't get something out and you're going to proliferate. Like,
they're going to lose 6 life before they actually handle this.
yeah, so there's a lot of gas on it, I think. And yeah, modality across the board. I think this set is just spewing modality. They're putting on everything. They want every card to do 2 jobs. And it's going to be sick. I think it's going to be great and limited. It means you always have options. And it's also going to allow cards to scale to our other formats like Commander.
Yeah, talking about modality and pulling the weight, I think, well, this one doesn't have much modality, but it definitely pulls the fucking weight. My last uncommon and common is Evolving Adaptive. I think this thing
Ooh,
is
yeah.
going to go
Yup.
nuts.
Youch.
I think it's going to go nuts. If you draft this or you get it in your sealed box, this is crazy because Evolving Adaptive, a Phyrexian Warrior 0/0, doesn't sound very good so far. Evolving Adaptive enters the battlefield with an oil counter. Evolving Adaptive gets +1/+1 for each oil counter on it. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power or toughness than Evolving Adaptive, put an oil counter on Evolving Adaptive.
That's like a Phyrexian Experiment 1, kind of.
Yeah. It's funny that the two, like evolve and adapt, like those are very similar mechanics. They just glued them together and they're like, hey, check out this thing that's going to win you the game.
Third mechanic, let me just pitch it to you real quick. Proliferate.
Ooh.
Yes, that's literally why I'm so hot on it.
It's just going to be a 1 mana 5/5 like half the time, bro.
Yeah,
It's going to be insane.
100%. And if you listen to our last episode when we were talking about like some of the new spoilers from this set, I think that Magmatic Sprinter is one of the better cards in the set. Like it just when it enters the battlefield, you put 2 oil counters on something, and if this is on your battlefield, and if it just goes crazy, it becomes a 1 mana 3/3 with that ability, and then the Magmatic Sprinter bounces back to your hand, it enters the battlefield again. Well, actually, it would be a 4/4 because Magmatic Sprinter's power is greater than the Evolving Adaptive. So be a 4/4, the turn comes out, enters again, gives it 2 more counters, bounces back. Just keep rinse and repeat. You can bully people with this card all day.
It rewards you for playing on curve and you just playing gradually larger creatures. So if you just play a really well-built limited deck. It kind of just says, good job, you win the game.
Or even in standard, build mono green Stompy just with a perfect curve.
Yeah.
Like this, I would love to drop this turn 1. This or Venerated Rot Priest, turn 1 all day.
Yeah, just
I'm
like
on it.
1, 2, 3, move up.
Yep. Hey, do you guys like to proliferate? What if I told you you could proliferate twice off of 1 card?
Shut the front.
In the uncommon slot, expand the sphere.
Ooh,
Look at the top
unfamiliar.
6 cards of your library, put up to 2 land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. So, doing something green likes to do, which is ramp, at a good rate, 3 colorless, 1 green. But, second part of the card, if you put fewer than 2 lands onto the battlefield this way, proliferate a number of times equal to the distance, equal to the difference.
Oh,
I mean,
like
I'll pay
this.
for to proliferate twice.
Yeah, of
like,
course.
Pay 4, proliferate twice. Pay 4, put 2 lands onto the battlefield. Pay 4, proliferate once, put 1 land onto the battlefield.
So this is
Yes.
So this is almost has modality. I mean,
Yeah,
it does have
definitely.
modality.
Yeah,
Explicitly,
100%.
3 different modes.
That's
gives you the
very, very
choice.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says up to, so you don't have to make the choice. If you
Right.
look and you reveal 2 lands, you don't have to put them out.
Nope.
That's the thing about like green in this set is I think it's going to incidentally end the proliferation is just going to incidentally end the game. Sometimes on accident.
I think you're gonna be like racking your brain, like, all right, I have a few cards left. How the fuck do I kill this guy? And be like, oh, he's already at 8. I'm just gonna proliferate twice real quick.
Gives
and
you
then,
some outs.
yeah,
Yeah.
seriously, I think it's gonna like end games,
Yep.
kill people real quick.
Yeah, it makes the cards that are normally only good at the early game when you're playing on curve makes them better in the late game. Like when you pick them up, like there's nothing that's going to be bad if you're drawing something that has proliferation on it. Like it's going to be good in the late game.
I think there's a deck to be built that's going to like get you to corrupted early in the game and then maybe peter out in the mid game, but can still close out by just proliferating.
Yes.
You know, once you have those counters.
Even you get to the point where you're a creature based deck and they've removed all your your cards, like the Grixis deck did the Grixis thing and board wiped everything. You just gotta get them enough poison counters where the rest of your deck is just proliferating.
Yeah, you're in green. You're somehow doubling poison counters. You have, all those cards where you had the modal choice to proliferate. Early in the game, you're taking the ramp option. Late in the game, you're taking the proliferate option. Boom, 10 poison counters, dead opponent.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see a strategy where a harmony of creature strategy plus non-creature strategy can like coexist and actually do pretty well.
And I bet that deck list in standard is going to look like junk, absolute junk that you're
Right.
not putting in other decks, but it's just going to synergize right, sort of like those cycling decks in Ikoria.
Yeah, it's just gonna work. It's gonna do its thing. It's gonna be a build around, but that's awesome. It's probably gonna be a cheap ass deck too.
For sure.
There's
Yep.
just a bunch of cards that have like they're 2-drops that have like toxic and death touch. Like there's a green that's a common that is 1 in a green. It's a 1/3 toxic 1 death touch, and you're just like, okay, so I'm at least getting through.
Yep,
Yeah, it's like,
high enough
lose
density
your
those
creature
to,
or
Yeah.
take 1 toxic.
And he's just got a ridiculously big butt. You're like, why does he need 3 toughness?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The set, man. It's just every little piece of room they could take it. They took every inch they could.
Yep.
They could.
Yeah, great design on this set.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think the flavor's awesome. The names on all this stuff is super cool. The creature super types are very fun.
Yeah.
Guys, I think we should go play some Magic.
It's freaking Magic Mondays, y'all.
Are you guys ready to turn some cardboards sideways?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. Thank you guys for listening to the MoxStars podcast. Again, subscribe, like this video. You can find all of our links to our social media stuff in the description below.
Yeah, follow so you can see the rest of our set review.
Exactly. And the previous video, we have a sweepstakes going. If you comment on that video, you'll enter to win a MoxStars sticker, which we will send to you free of charge.
Competition is hot right now.
It is
by the way,
hot!
So do it fast.
Get in quick.
Yep.
Thank you guys for listening. Bye-bye.
Deuces.